Best boy doing best boy things. Welcome, anime onlys, to the character twice, aka Deadpool's brother. This was a fantastic episode of My Hero Academia. Episode 5 of Season 3. Episode 5 may not have been as, crazy as the conclusion to last week's episode, but there was a lot of little moments here and there throughout the episode that really just made it shine bright, and I was just like, my god, the quality of this episode. But before I get into the individual scenes, I just want to take a few moments to just acknowledge the fact of how good the voice acting for this episode was. I don't normally talk about voice acting a lot, but it definitely needs to be acknowledged for this episode because Tetsu's voice actor did a fantastic job. And, this also goes for last week's episode as well. The voice acting to Izuku, Muscular, Kota, and all of that was just spot on. Honestly, it blew me away. I should have talked about it in my last episode review, but I want to mention it now. Better late than never. Voice acting is just insane for this series, and I don't normally watch the dub of an anime, but I decided to check out the dub for the previous episode in this episode, and I haven't really heard any of the dub previously. I haven't watched Season 1 or Season 2 or any of the rest of Season 3 in dub. I just decided to watch the episode because I liked the episode, and I wanted to see how it sounded dub because I was hearing it praised quite a bit, and I just want to say, my god, the voice acting for the dub and the Japanese dub is absolutely mind-blowing. The voice actors definitely deserve a lot of credit for how good, their acting sounds. Last week, with Izuku saying it's okay, and all that, or it's fine. And then in this episode, with Tetsu charging in and trying to, hold back Mustard and all that. Just, there's some really good scenes with these voice acting from these characters, like Kendo's voice actor and all that I'm just saying, job well done. Oh my god, they deserve some praise. But okay, so, to get right into this episode, let's talk about Izuku. Izuku is damaged almost beyond repair. And I'm just going to be point blank with you anime onlys because I know many of you are probably concerned or wondering about this because you probably have read shonen in the past and you've seen it to where a character gets hurt and everything is fine in the end. So if you anime onlys are a little bit upset with the fact that maybe he's going to be okay, everything's going to heal back and all that, I want to tell you right now there will be repercussions for this. And let me explain why this ain't a spoiler as well. Remember what Recovery Girl said a while back when Izuku got his injuries, when he was fighting Stain, and how his hand has scars all over it still now? Well, remember, how her quirk works is that she speeds up your actual body's healing capabilities. So, technically, she is not healing you. She's tricking your body or forcing your body to heal at a rapid rate. So, you're using your own body's stamina and healing properties to be able to fix certain wounds. And as we know, the human body has limitations. Even if your healing was sped up, limitations do apply to the human body. And so, obviously, with all the damage you see that Izuku received, the way his arm is all messed up, both arms are messed up, it's probably not going to be as easy to fix. So, also want to point out something very miscellaneous, but some of you might find this very fascinating. This is the cover of the volume where Izuku goes up against Muscular, and also a cover to when Venom is going up against Spider-Man. You could see the nature of these covers are very identical, and just an FYI if you're unaware of this, once again, Horikoshi, the author of My Hero Academia, is a fan of comics. He loves comics. He loves Spider-Man, and he based Izuku off of Spider-Man. So just FYI, that is why there's a similarity there. And so, once again, Horikoshi just showcasing how big of a fanboy he is of comics, Western comics, because of the way that cover was done. I really like the tone the episode had when Izuku walked over to Aizawa when he popped up, and then Aizawa just looks all shocked and all that, and he's like, hey, he's just trying to say hey to Izuku, and Izuku's just talking, 100 miles per second, just, get everything out there, all the information, because his adrenaline's pumping and all that, his blood's pumping adrenaline, and he's just talking to Aizawa and all that, trying to tell him what's going on, and Aizawa's like, hey, and, Izuku's just not listening because, he's so hurt, he just needs to keep moving, and eventually he just runs off. And the way that was done, it was really realistic. For Aizawa just to look at, Izuku like that, it's like, hey, and all that, and Izuku's not listening, it just shows that he is not being able to think properly right now because of, how his injuries are and the adrenaline. And when he decides to run off and all of that, you just see how his arms are just still flapping all around. I'm just like, my God, like, it looks so painful. But then we move over into the next scene, and we get a very, very interesting analysis from Mandalay and all that. She says that, those aren't normal injuries and all that. You need to back out and all that and go to, like, the camp and stuff. And I'm just like, so what gave it away that he was seriously injured, or they weren't normal injuries? Was it the shattered arms, or was it because he was doing the Naruto run and it actually looked pretty decent? But all jokes aside, though, this scene with Mandalay and all that, Spinner and Magne, this is a really good scene. It really shows how different My Hero Academia is when it comes to certain cliches, and I appreciate the fact for that. So to get right into that segment, so obviously with the Izuku popping in out of nowhere and saving Mandalay, knocking Spinner's weapon out and all that, he gets there and he relays the information, and he has her, Mandalay relays everybody, like, information of what's going on, use your quirks, use self-defense and all that, and also, Bakugo, you need to be very careful, because apparently you're on a list or you're being targeted right now. I mean, just the entire scene there is pretty freaking epic, and there's a lot of tension, and my God, I gotta say right now, in terms of tension-wise, this definitely feels a lot more tense than the manga counterpart, because it was very confusing in the manga with all the information that was being, relayed. You didn't know really what was going on, you didn't know, like, who was where throughout the entirety of the place of the training ground, and so seeing the way this has been displayed in this episode, it's very, precise. You know kind of where everybody's positioned, you know where they're all boxed in by the fire, the gas, and all of that, and so I do like the way this episode was handled, especially for that segment. Magne looks over to Izuku and is like, wait a minute. We only have 2 people with power, a part of our group right now. And if that, explosion, that impact I heard earlier was who I think it is, the bloodthirsty Muscular, and he took him down because Muscular wouldn't let someone pass him, and then Magne's like, I need to put this man down. I need to kill this man as quickly as possible. That showed right then and there that these villains, they are no joke. If they see someone that is a threat to the entire operation or what they're wanting to achieve, they will put you down instantly. They're not one of those villains that are just sitting there getting cocky and all that and then they let you run away. No. Magne legit ran at Izuku going in for the kill because Magne realized how impressive he was. He most likely did take down Muscular, and that was showing that the villains are also very confident. They're not stupid. They're able to come up with their own plans and strategies without someone on the higher up, manipulating them or controlling them for their actions, for instance, aka Shigaraki. That's what Shigaraki is technically doing, but at the end of the day, though, we get to see that they have a very high intelligence to be able to even come to that conclusion that Izuku is the one that probably took down Muscular, and they need to take him down. So that segment just shows that Izuku is a threat, and he needs to be put down. But here's the thing, though. This is where the cliche gets a little bit different, what I was talking about earlier. Instead of the heroes, or Mandalay or anyone else, or Tiger coming in and saving Izuku, you have it where Spinner saves Izuku. And many might want to say, oh, that's stupid and all that. Oh, of course the main character gets saved at the last second and all that because MC. Yeah, that is a thing, plot armor. But it makes sense because of what type of person Spinner is. And let me get right into that. As I've been talking about, Spinner is a Stain wannabe. He's a Stain fanboy. I mean, his entire outfit just reeks of Stain. Like, I mean, honestly, he has everything that is pretty much Stain. And his fighting style or his ideology is very similar to Stain. And with him throwing the knife and stopping Magne chasing after Izuku to kill him, it was a way of kind of twisting the cliche. Because usually a hero would jump in at the last second to save the main character, but that wasn't the case. It was actually the villain that saved Izuku, thanks to Stain's ideology. So in a way, thanks to Stain, Izuku was able to survive this. He did not die in this episode thanks to that. And once again, Stain's will is being carried on. Because remember, Stain thought that Izuku was a true hero. He wanted Izuku to live on because he knew that he would become a truly impressive hero. And so Spinner, continued that legacy and saved Izuku, and that's how Izuku got away. And it just shows as well that the villains are not all as a cohesive unit. They're not all working together without thought. For instance, normally when it comes to villain organizations or, just big baddies of any series, usually you have the main head honcho, And if there is any conflict in the organization, there's the dude right underneath that is like, causing problems and conflict in the villain organization. But that's pretty much it. It's not often to where you see that the villains have their own individual personalities, their own objectives, and they're doing their own thing for their own reasons, and they're not just blindly following the path of evil for the sake of being evil. For instance, Spinner, he joined, Shigaraki's group and all that in the League of Villains because he wants to be able to push on Stain's ideology. And a lot of them are like that as well. And so because of this, it shows that they're not always going to completely follow Shigaraki's orders. And if Shigaraki wants to become a better villain, in-game boss of the series, he needs to be able to understand that not everything is always going to go according to plan, especially because everybody has their own personality. They have their own things that they seek and want. And so that is definitely going to play a part in the future, and that was kind of showing that Spinner is not always going to follow what Shigaraki wants, or other villains of the group. So anyways, let's talk about the Bakugo and Todoroki versus Moonfish, before I get into that stuff with, Tetsu. So, Moonfish, oh my god, like, he was really creepy seeing animated. My god, like, I knew how he was, like, I know his quirk and all that, because obviously manga reader, but I mean, just, like, seeing him flopping around and moving with his iron teeth all around the battlefield, it's scary and impressive. But it also shows, once again, how much training this man has put in to his quirk. Think about it like this. All of our characters, okay, Todoroki, Tokoyami, Izuku, Ida, Ochiko, all of our characters, they've all been putting in the work to increase their stamina, their physical strength, and their quirks. The whole point of this training ground was for them to get better with their quirks, to be able to utilize it and improve it, expand it, whatever. And seeing Moonfish just wandering around the battlefield like it's nothing, like he literally is just flopping over trees, using the terrain to his advantage, it shows that this man has a lot of experience when it comes to fighting and using his quirk to be able to balance himself and get close towards an enemy. And that is the scary part about this. These villains, they're the real deal. They're people with experience. They're people that know what they're doing. They have seen a whole lot. They have fought many, many battles. And what makes matters even scarier for this scene with Moonfish versus Bakugo and Todoroki is the fact that Moonfish is a death row convict. So yeah, this man has many deaths under his belt, and he is someone that was even on death row. So that does prove that this man is no joke by any means whatsoever. But I also want to point out the contrast of Moonfish and Mustard. See, Moonfish, obviously, he's very experienced. It was even stated by, Todoroki and Bakugo that he really knows how to utilize his quirk to the absolute, limit. He knows how to move around and attack them. But when you look at Mustard, obviously, he failed. He did not know how to properly utilize his quirk. See, he had a very skilled quirk, but he obviously lacks certain things with it. And that was the contrast that this episode wanted to show, that Moonfish and Mustard are the exact opposites. Moonfish is someone that could use his quirk to kind of have combat with, and also get up close and personal with physical strength if needs be. And then Mustard is someone that doesn't do any physical combat. He just sits back, uses a gun while using his gas to keep everybody locked into his, AoE. And that right there just shows how different their fighting style is, but their experience as well. It's very apparent from Mustard's character and the way he, displayed himself throughout the episode, especially for anime only, you're going to be able to understand it. But to clarify, it's very apparent that the man, or the child, he is a middle schooler to be exact, the middle schooler, he obviously was a failed hero. He failed a hero exam. He wasn't able to achieve his dream, his goal, what he wanted to be. And because of that, he became what he is. And so right now, he's blaming basically everything on society, blaming everything on heroes because of the fail that he had, for instance, not being able to become a hero. Most likely, looking at his character and all that, you could assume that he failed the hero course exam or whatever to be able to get into a proper high school. He couldn't achieve it, so he got depressed and upset, and then he turned to becoming a villain. And now he's taking his aggression out on the unfair society. So his character overall, his motivation, it shows that once again how the society of heroes can also create villains because of the way certain things are done. And in this case, with Mustard as well, his fighting style, it shows that he's very young. He is not someone that is very experienced as a fighter, because honestly, he could have been a very scary fighter and a scary villain in this episode if he was able to use hand-to-hand combat and also use his gas. Think about it like this, okay? Let's think about this situation. Let's say Stain was Mustard for a second. Just take that in your mind right now. Take that into consideration. Say that Mustard was Stain, and Stain had Mustard's quirk. He was able to use the gas and all that. Stain didn't have his paralyzation quirk anymore. He just had the gas and stuff. We already saw that Stain was able to pretty much utilize his quirk, or utilize his own, weakness, which is not being able to use his quirk all the time to be able to put up a fight against strong opponents. I mean, he was fighting Todoroki, Ida, and Izuku at the same time, and the only reason why he lost was because of his ideology. He basically let them win. And so, imagine someone like Stain that's able to fight in close combat with his knives and stuff with Mustard's quirk. That's scary. That's legitimately scary. It would honestly be a terrifying villain, because he has a massive AoE that can keep you confined and not being able to do really much, and then also being able to detect you and all of that around him. He's pretty scary. And so if Stain was Mustard, this episode would have ended a lot differently for Tetsu. He definitely would have died. Tetsu and Kendo would have died easily. The only reason why Mustard lost was because of his lack of experience, which plays into the part with how Class A and Class B are. Remember, Class A and Class B, they're rookies. They are people that do not know how to properly utilize their quirks and also have hand-to-hand combat. And so because of this, we get to see once again how certain people, not just on the hero side, but the villain side as well, also have flaws like this. They're not able to properly do certain things like the other pro-villains or pro-heroes can do. So, Mustard lost in the end, obviously, and the way he went down, it felt very nice. Especially with what Tetsu did, just punching him in the face, the power behind the impact, punching this man to the ground. Absolutely fabulous. I really enjoy that scene quite a bit. But, I mean, let's talk about Tetsu for a second, and how scary, Mustard was, too. Even though Mustard didn't have, hand-to-hand combat, and he wasn't, as scary as what he could have truly have been, it was very refreshing to see a villain use a gun. And it's kind of like a big wake-up call for the series, because when you think about stuff like this, or manga, shonen, whatever, you don't really think about how deadly a gun could be, or especially in a series like this. I mean, when you think about, My Hero Academia, everybody has, these quirks that are super dangerous. That's, Shigaraki's ideology. You're just, walking down the street next to dangerous individuals that can just, get rid of you in a second. I mean, Shigaraki, perfect example. And it's refreshing to see these villains use something that connects to our reality, but also shows that something like that is very real in this world, and that it would still do a lot of damage to individuals a part of the My Hero Academia verse. Because if it wasn't Tetsu in this episode fighting up against Mustard could have easily killed someone. I mean, if Kendo would have gotten shot, GG. Izuku would have gotten shot, GG. Koda, GG. Aizawa, GG. What I'm saying is that even though he lacked experience, the thing is that it was a very scary encounter, just showing the gravity of the situation, that, it was refreshing to see a villain actually use a gun for a change, and actually go in like he did, and fight. So, yeah, hopefully you anime-onlys really enjoyed that, seeing something different instead of him just relying on his quirk and having hand-to-hand combat, actually seeing something that you don't often see at all. The whole reason why Bakugo was upset, why he got very upset with the whole, Kacchan and all that, why it was being said over into everybody's head, the reason why he got upset is because Izuku is the only one that calls Bakugo Kacchan. That he is the only one. And so obviously Bakugo was able to put point A and point B together and realize that it was Izuku that started all of this. For instance, Izuku obviously did something, he relayed information, he knows Izuku was doing what Izuku does best, and then he also knew that Izuku was telling everybody to not let Bakugo fight, which made Bakugo very angry, because that's how his personality is. So that right then and there, it just proves once again that, Izuku probably could have handled that in a little bit of a different way, but at the same time, though, Bakugo's reaction to that, why he charged in like he did, not listening, was because of Izuku saying what he said, saying his name like that, because he knew fully well who was telling him to back down and not fight. Let's get into what happened with Aizawa and Dabi and all that for a second. So, Aizawa, just like I was talking about with Mustard and Moonfish and how they have like a contrast between them, Aizawa also has this contrast with him, utilizing his quirk and his physical strength. You see, Aizawa, his quirk is pretty savage. It allows him to stop people from using their quirks, as long as it's not, like a change in the body form. Like, if their body's changed in shape or whatever, obviously his quirk is not really going to work that well. But, I mean, if they have, like, a quirk to be able to produce fire or whatever, or have augmented strength, he can kind of stop that. And so he is really, really strong as a pro hero. It's a really strong ability. The only drawbacks is the fact that he has to keep his eyes open. But for the most part, though, Aizawa showcased why he is a pro hero and how the pros are vastly different from the regular characters we have in this series. You see, Dabi, he put his hand right up to Aizawa and then lit him up like it was nothing. Literally about probably that distance away. It wasn't really that far at all. And for Aizawa to get away from Dabi that quickly and jump onto the side like a couple of meters away, it shows that Aizawa's physical strength, his feats, are ridiculous. And that he is no pushover whatsoever, which makes sense. It falls in line with Aizawa's character. Let me explain why. Aizawa is someone that, once again, he only has the quirk to be able to erase people's quirks. So, in reality, all he does when he goes up against a villain is just level the playing field to where it's just a regular physical fist fight, or, physical fight. There is no quirks being applied at all. So, for instance, let's say Aizawa's fighting Stain, he would deactivate Stain's quirk, but Stain and him would have a physical fight. It would just be a straight up one-on-one, no quirks at all, but at the same time, it would be a very tough fight. See, out of all people that Aizawa probably would not want to fight, it would be someone like Stain. Someone that is really good in hand-to-hand physical combat without using a quirk. And so, the type of opponents that overly rely on their quirk, that is who Stain is overly rely on their quirk, that is who Aizawa is able to overpower, because they're not used to not having their quirk, while Aizawa is used to just being able to fight with hand-to-hand combat. So it demonstrated his feats being able to dodge Dabi like that like it was nothing, because of just how his character design was in the first place. Anime onlys, how do you feel about Japanese Deadpool? Twice. I'm not going to really dive in too much into his character right now, because it will be revealed in due time, so I don't want to spoil any of you, but I'm going to tell you right now, my first impressions of his anime counterpart, it's pretty positive. The voice actor really nailed, which is one of the main reasons why I was really proud of the voice actors for this episode, because Twice's voice actor nailed it for changing the voices of his two different lines. For instance, when he was like agreeing with, Dabi and then disagreeing with Dabi, his voice would actually change back and forth. I really appreciate that little level of detail that, Studio Bones went, and the voice actor for Twice went just for that. They weren't trying to be lazy, had a different tone of voice for each line he said, and it's gonna make certain scenes in the future very impactful. I cannot wait to see how it's done, but my boy Twice is finally animated. I want to say right now, anime onlys, he's one of my favorites, and you're in for a good ride with his character, because he has some really good characterization that's going to get you pretty excited. So one quick thing before I end this video, anime onlys, how do you feel about that Tokoyami reveal at the end? The man was consumed by the darkness. I mean, when you think about it, it's been foreshadowed. I mean, they even had the flashback in this episode showing that he mentioned that he gets a little bit crazy, like he can't control his stando in his body when it gets closer and closer to night. So, how do you feel about that little reveal at the end of the episode? And also, how do you feel about Shoji being a bro in this episode as well, especially since he lost his hand, and clearly that's obviously what, Moonfish was looking at the previous episode. For now, I want to end this video here, so let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. Chibi out.